Hi there, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Practical Marketing Tips for Small Law Firms, where we interview industry experts about proven, used today attorney marketing strategies. I'm your host, Cara Pryor. I'm the president of James Publishing. I'm also the founder of our marketing amplifier system. You know, I spend most of my time really strategizing with lawyers on how to improve their marketing results. And today we have a special guest with us. I'm really excited to welcome Jacob Mallerby. Jacob is an absolute Facebook pro. He's the founder of X Social Media, an advertising agency specializing in lead generation for law firms through Instagram and through Facebook. Jacob is the author of the Facebook Effect for Lawyers. Absolute must read. I could not really recommend this book more. I read it myself several times. The Facebook Effect for Lawyers, a must read really for all attorneys who are struggling to find new clients in this sort of ever-changing digital marketing landscape. But he's also the author of A Lawyer's Guide to Mass Torts that really guides you through how to successfully get into the mass tort space. X Social Media has really seen some explosive growth. In 2020 alone, the company went from 10 million in revenue to over 50 million in revenue. And during that same time, more than 400 law firms became X Social Media clients, generating over 250,000 new leads in 2020 from Facebook alone. That's all pretty impressive, right? So let's introduce them. Welcome, Jacob. Thanks so much for being here.
Hey, thank you, and thank you for the great intro. Yeah, we have done a lot in a very short time, so that's exciting. Especially our mission, not to forget, is to help the victims, and we see the lawyers as the conduit or the money to kind of go out there and find the victims, so we can help them. But that's really our mission: is how do we help a lot of victims find good representation and good help. And our belief is that the contingency model is kind of the bridge that gaps people that can't afford to go up against, you know, the big Goliaths, and all of a sudden a lawyer can help them out when it doesn't cost them any money up front. So it's been a great journey, and we still have a lot to do, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah, that really is such an important mission. So we're going to dive right in, kind of get to the meat like we always do. Today, we are talking about social media, specifically how to use Facebook advertising to really drive more leads and more clients for your firm. So Jacob, let me kind of ask a sort of general question to get into the conversation. I'm kind of thinking about this whole, as there's additional steps to kind of protect user privacy, limit sort of controversial content, especially on Facebook. Is Facebook still proving effective for generating clients for law firms?
Yeah, so what we have seen since the 14.5 iOS update is we have seen Facebook becoming more like TV, where it works really, really well when we're looking for mass client bases, which would be like a Roundup, a Paraquat, the really big torts. It still works extremely well. Where the privacy issues are coming into play is the much smaller torts, like if you take sexual abuse, church abuse, stuff like that, where it's really a needle in a haystack we're trying to find. There we are seeing some price increases, and it's more difficult to find people after the new update, which obviously is sad, because those people need as much help as the people that are in bigger, hurt by bigger companies. But that's what we're seeing. In some instances, it's become more difficult. In other instances, it's more generalized. So you could imagine that the audience sizes are much bigger now. So it's much more general than it was before, where we could dive down deep into micro-targeting areas, I would call it.
So then if you had to kind of make some specific changes in your approach kind of as a result of these protective steps, is there, anything that kind of had to shift there?
Yeah, so if you do general stuff like PI, family law, all the general stuff, I think the most important thing is to set up what I would call evergreen campaigns that maybe have very, very small daily budget. And that to me is $20, $25 a day, and you get your brand out there, and you think as this as a branding, but also a lead generation all at the same time. But you got to get out there where people are local to you, let's say your address plus maybe 10 miles, maybe 15 miles, depending on how big your city is. You got to have those evergreen campaigns running where you just set your target demographic, and to find your target demographic, you just look at the clients you already have, figure out what is the age groups, is it men you're catering to, women you're catering to, put up your offer, brand your law firm, and let everybody know what you can offer in the local market. I think that's an evergreen that all law firms should do.
That's good advice. So you talk about these evergreen campaigns. Can you give maybe some examples of what that might look like, an offer or, kind of what that funnel might consist of?
Yeah. So first you would need to have your Facebook business page set up, which I think at this point, most law firms has a Facebook page set up. Then you would set up an ad that basically runs to a landing page on your website to get people to your website. That landing page could also be the home page of your website, meaning the first page, and just invite them to come and see your website. But you have to have some place people can go, some place people maybe can call the office if they're interested or need your help. Facebook's algorithm has become a lot better if you run the campaign long enough, but the algorithm has to understand what you're looking for, and it understands it by seeing who is engaging with your offer. So the longer you run a campaign, the better the campaign becomes.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I would say, number one, have your Facebook page, set up your ad, post that ad to your Facebook page, put $20 on it. Don't do the boost post. The boost post is a sucker bet. You got to get over in the account manager, set up your targeting correctly. A lot you can learn from the book, The Facebook Effect for Lawyers, of how to set it all up. But small dollars, get it out there and let it run. I would almost say forever, but just let it run. And that will get you noticed. It will get you calls. It will get you leads. And it doesn't have to cost a lot of money.
I think that's super important. I think sometimes attorneys assume you have to spend all kinds of money. You have to have this massive budget to even launch a Facebook ad. So I think that's really important to remember. You talk about these ads. What kind of ads have you found are most effective? Is it a free consultation ad? Is it a, to learn more? Is it some sort of lead magnet, a free resource? What have you found is kind of the most effective?
So it's very important to understand what people use Facebook for. So other than seeing what your friends and family is doing, which is definitely a thing that Facebook is used for, Facebook is a discovery tool. Always remember this: if you don't know you have that problem, you can't search for it. So you can't use Google, right? So you're not in the Google space. But if you go up with an image of what you do, branded with your law firm name, remember the principal address to be bar compliant and all that, come up with what you offer, come with a clear text of, is this contingency? Is this, something that costs upfront money depending on what legal vertical you're in? But make it very clear so people understand what it is you're doing. If it is more complex, then I recommend maybe filming a short video. Short video to me is no more than 1 minute, where you can talk about if it's more complex than PI or family law, if it's more in-depth stuff. And then the other thing I would remind people of, think about if you're in personal injury, you know that everybody in your town is going after the car accidents and the truck accidents. Try and think about something outside that. that you could also do. And I will come with one great example is the trampoline parks we all see coming up all over the place. We all take our kids there. We all sign a release before we go into this park for our kids that if anything should happen, we can't sue. Well, mom and dad now thinks they can't sue the park for negligence. Well, you can always sue for negligence, right? And second, a lot of states don't allow you to sign away the right of a minor. So that's the way you get around the signing when you come in, right? So think about areas where nobody else is, because Facebook is a discovery tool. And if mom discovers that her little daughter broke her leg and she felt it was the park's fault, but she also signed a waiver coming in, but now she discovers that there's an attorney out there that will actually help her with that problem, that's going to be the first call. And don't forget, the trampoline park has a commercial insurance behind it. So each accident there is like a commercial insurance, meaning it's a semi-truck case that you have in your hands. $1 million commercial insurance on all claims out of trampoline parks. So just one example to look at, but do something where there's not a crowded area with a lot of other lawyers going after the same thing.
I think that is so critical. You know, you see Facebook flooded with ads from personal injury firms that are just saying, injured, call me, injured, call me. There's nothing unique about that message. And like you say, that it's such a crowded space. If, you know, as an attorney, if you can really just carve out, you know, a niche or even just, you know, position yourself in a slightly, you know, unique way. I think that is so important, especially when we're talking about, you know, not just throwing money down the drain, right? So.
And it's so easy, really, Kara, because you have Hispanic attorneys, you have African-American attorneys. They look at their portfolio of cases, and it's probably clear when you look at their cases that they get a little more from the Hispanic community, a little more for the African-American community. So why not focus on that community and help more people in that community, because they obviously trust you, right, as an attorney. So take that trust and build on that trust. And always remember, give value. Universe has a way of value coming back to you if you give it freely. So always remember, when you set up ads, give free value to people and they will value it and they will come back after they receive it. It's just how the universe works.
And if you're targeting a specific demographic, like you say, that I would imagine that makes targeting easier on Facebook, right? Because if you're just going after everyone, you're really kind of going after no one. Like in that trampoline park example, because I think that's interesting. How would you suggest an attorney kind of target for something like that? What are some of the yeah.
So on Facebook, it's actually really easy because there's a targeting options of parents with kids in certain age groups, right? So maybe the first time you take a kid to the trampoline park where they can really fall and hurt themselves is maybe 6 years old, and it maybe goes to 15 years old. So all you're doing is taking parents that has kids between 6 and 15, and then remember, take your demographic of where you want the cases. Maybe you have some trampoline parks in your city. So you just make sure that those trampoline parks are covered and maybe a 20-mile radius around it. Maybe that includes your office in there. And then let the algorithm do the rest. Trust the algorithm. The algorithm is much smarter than you, me, or anybody else. Trust that the algorithm will find the right people for you once you have given them boundaries of where you want to be. That's how I would set it up.
Yeah, that's good. Jacob, you kind of touched on this briefly, but I want to go back quickly to sort of boosting posts versus running more traditional Facebook ad campaigns. Can you kind of tell our audience maybe the difference between the two, but then also kind of the value of kind of how you see both of those playing out?
So there's a reason that boost a post is right underneath the post, because Facebook will want you to do that and make more money doing that. But you don't have the full array of targeting options on the boost post. So it's critical to go in to your business manager and your ad account, set up your ad correctly. And then once everything is set up, you have the learn more button underneath, or maybe call now button underneath, where you can do click to call. But once you have set it up correctly, in business managers, there's something called page post, where you can see the post that you are advertising. And from page post, you can go to your advertising post, click publish from there, and that page that you're running an ad to, or that advertising that you're running, will then show up on your page with the ad spend going to that post. So again, something that is in depth in the book, but it is just a sucker bet, the boost post, and you shouldn't be using it. You should use the ads manager. It's much better targeting for you.
Good, good. I've had attorneys tell me, maybe they're in smaller cities or less sort of metropolitan areas, and they've tried Facebook ads and they just can't get a large enough audience to kind of make it worthwhile. What do you say? Do you have any advice to those folks?
Yeah, they are in a huge advantage, the people in the rural areas, because you can blanket a city with what you do for very cheap. Remember, Facebook cost you about $25 per 1,000 people that see your ad. So it's a very, very cheap method. And if you are in a rural area, normally you don't have as much competition as if you were in New York or Houston or one of the bigger areas. So being in rural areas is a huge upfront advantage. So they should be happy about that. I would say if we took a look at a campaign, let's say you were out in a rural area, you probably want to target, if you were a PI lawyer, you probably want to target people that are over 30, because typically, unfortunately, people under 30 are the one causing the accidents. So you want people over 30, and you want people that either has a car or drives a car. How do you do that? Well, you go into people that have car insurance, which is an audience on Facebook, right? Because they also have to have insurance before you can get paid. So in that way, you can hit all drivers in your city for very little money and tell them, hey, if you ever need me, I'm here. Just look at Facebook ads as a branding tool with direct access to your law firm if they want to call you or if they want to fill out a digital lead on your website. But you are just sharing that you are here to help if they need you. Do not push. It's not a push sale. This is oh, I saw this on Facebook and my friend got in an accident and now I'm recommended that this guy is a good guy because I've seen him provide value for me on my Facebook feed again and again. That's how you should look at Facebook, I think.
Yeah, that's so important and hard for attorneys to grasp sometimes, that you gotta be in it for the branding play just as much as the lead gen, or you're not going to be able to build that trust and that value. So when you talk about,
you can do it at small budgets, right? Remember, it's not something that necessarily has to cost you a whole lot, especially if you're in a rural area. It could be a $20 budget a day and you just let it run. You set it up right and just let it run.
Yeah. Yeah. So you talk about providing value. Let's talk about video for a second. So video can be one of the best ways to provide value, really convey a large amount of information in a short amount of time, allow prospective clients to kind of really, meet you and trust you. Can you talk about kind of video and how it plays into Facebook ads? And then also what kind of, content could attorneys potentially be shooting when they're thinking about, well, what should I be talking about on these videos?
Well, first thing, do not talk about yourself. That's the first thing that all lawyers make a mistake on. Don't talk about yourself. we're not looking for the guy who has a $10 million claim and he's trying to find the best lawyer for him. That's not what you typically find on Facebook. Talk about the problems of your clients. Take any client as an example. Tell the story of what happened to this client and tell them how you helped that client. It always has to be about your client. Whatever video you make, they don't want to see that you have a big, beautiful office. I mean, that's great that you do, but that's not what we want to communicate to the clients. We want to communicate to them that we are part of the community. We want to communicate good stuff that we do around the community where we help out. That's what we want to communicate, because that gives us that brand of they're here to help and not that, oh, they're just attorneys making money, right? So it's very important to be on the level of your clients and look at their problems and take a client in every video, talk about, don't mention names, no client privilege or anything broken, but talk about their situation, talk about what you did for them. And a lot of people want to find the person that is, oh my God, that was the exact situation I'm in. Yeah. And this guy just helped another person out with this. I think this sounds like somebody that can help me as well. That's the situation your clients want to see you in, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great. Jacob, what about Instagram ads? Have you found Instagram ads to be as effective for law firms?
Honestly, no. Only in very, very certain specific times. I can give you some examples. Instagram worked amazingly well for NFL players when we had the concussion case. Instagram is a little bit of here I am, look at me, and look at all these other famous people. So it's not as much as a discovery tool. It's more of a let me look at people and what they look like and all that. So the text ratio to image ratio is much different on Facebook, on Instagram. So it don't work as well. However, when we set up ads, we let Facebook's algorithm decide where they should show the ad, including Instagram. And if the algorithm feels that they should show it on Instagram, they will. But most of the time, ads don't work as well on Instagram as on Facebook, I would say.
So that's just a pretty simple toggle on the Facebook Business Manager, right? Also include on Instagram, and then you kind of let the Facebook algorithm take over on where the ads are displayed?
Yes. So you can say, let Facebook decide, or you can go one down and say, I would like to decide. Again, I am not smarter than the algorithm. So let the algorithm figure out where they should show ads that helps with your conversion and finding the right people. So I have always let Facebook decide where to show my ads.
That's smart. So Jacob, for anyone in the audience wanting to work with your agency, can you kind of describe the firms that are a good fit for your agency and kind of how much you charge for your services so they can get a little bit better sense of what it's like working with you guys?
Yeah. So first, for everybody watching this, I would suggest that you read this book, The Facebook Effect for Lawyers. I would love for you to do it yourself. Maybe you're interested in yourself. Maybe you have a person in your firm that are interested in it. With this book, you can do it yourself. And if we all do it ourselves, we can help a lot more people than my company can help. So let me say that first. Second, we are best at mass torts. So when you have very big MDLs, federal MDLs, where give some examples of Roundup, Paraquat, Santac, that's what we do the best. We charge between 20% and 15%, depending on your spend, to set up the ads and run the ads and optimize the ads for you. Typical budgets with me is between 5 and 500,000, but I would say medium people come with 50,000 to go into a mass tort maybe. Again, I don't want to discourage anybody for doing their own mass tort, with their own Facebook after reading my book. And it's absolutely possible. Remember, I didn't, just come here knowing how to do Facebook ads, right? So I learned it myself, like everybody else, right? So it's not impossible to learn. It's very simple. With the book, will get you a long way down the road. So I really encourage everybody to do it in the firm themselves, and I think you will have good results. And remember, Evergreen and not putting big money in has great results all the time. If you don't have to spend the money fast, if you can wait and just see what comes, that's normally a better strategy than having to spend money fast, because the faster you have to spend the money, the more the leads normally will cost you.
Yeah, and obviously, so, you're primarily focused on mass torts, but, can these techniques that you found successful in that niche work for the consumer lawyers seeking local clients?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Let me give a good example that we call the time machine. So if you have big accidents, let's call it a 20-car backup or something on a freeway, with Facebook, you can actually go back and say people that was in this particular location back in time. And you can target those people, or maybe people that are at a certain hospital you can target, or maybe people that are at a certain nursing home you can target. So you can always geo-target around areas where people go after they get hurt. And that could be one strategy. Target your ER or your hospital in your local area and see if you can help some people there.
Yeah, and it's true that this book really is a roadmap. It's a playbook there's tons of details. I mean, Jacob really walks you through how to do this yourself every step of the way. It really is an incredible roadmap. So wrapping up, Jacob, so your agency, as I mentioned at the top of the session, it's really grown at a blistering pace, despite being, in the pretty crowded space of online marketing for lawyers. How have you been marketing your agency, and, really, how have you been able to kind of see this type of growth?
So it's funny, because for the first 5 years, we had a rule that we didn't market. We kind of let people come to us, and it was personal introduction from another lawyer, which seems like a great thing. We went to the Mass Tort Made Perfect trade show in Las Vegas, which is where all the mass tort lawyers kind of meet. So we've done it that way, maybe a little organic, I would say, in the beginning, where lawyers refer lawyers to us. And that has helped us. We did have a very big jump from 10 to 50 million, but it was also because there was a lot of torts that came right on top of each other. So maybe our market is a little bit affected by what is going on. I would say, particular, the Purdue opioid bankruptcy, where we found 68,000 opioid addicts and helped them move on in life. We're particularly proud of that. We helped 25,000 of the Boy Scouts find representation. So there is these big torts that we did where we really, helped a lot of people. So that we're pretty proud of.
Yeah, that's
but we don't do much advertising. It's more trade show and meet the lawyers face to face. I think there is a lot of bad actors in our space that we gotta get around that and meet people face to face. So they know we're real.
I love that approach, and I couldn't agree more. So Jacob, thanks again for sharing your wisdom with us today. You were wonderful. We really do appreciate it. And everyone, be sure to join us for our next episode of Practical Marketing Tips for Small Law Firms, happening very soon. Thanks so much. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.